All right, so I'd like to welcome our guest today. We've got Brandon Nales, and Brandon is head of content and artist relations for the Digilogue. And I always want to say Digilogue. It would still be cool because you could dig it, but it's
Yeah,
Digilogue.
yeah,
Uh,
no.
he's also executive producer of the Els podcast, and kind of reading a little bit of his bio. He's got a lot of history in marketing, branding, building community engagement programs. He's worked with some big companies prior to his stint in the music industry here, his entrance into music. Dunkin Donuts and the Philadelphia 76ers being two of them. And he's very similar to my story, I think. He's taking these things he's learned out in corporate America or in the marketing world, branding world, and is bringing them over to music. So welcome, Brandon. We're really excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Excited to join you guys.
If you don't mind, I think a good place to start for us would be kind of a little bit of your origin story. So where you grew up, what's your music, when did you get into that music, when did you fall in love with it, if you've had that experience, and let it evolve into how did you get into branding and marketing, and why did you transition into music from the corporate world?
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in South Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia. My father's from Camden, my mother's from Puerto Rico. Father's of Jamaican descent, my mother's of Puerto Rican descent, obviously. So I grew up with a lot of different Caribbean music. And then just in the time that I grew up being on the East Coast, obviously, was that golden era of, like, well, I call golden era. Maybe the older people won't call it, but like 50 Cent, Jay-Z, Locks, all of that. So I used to grow up and listen to that, and really like that was a nostalgic thing for me. And I really just appreciated like the East Coast sound. And as I got like into my teenage years, hip hop kind of went down south with Atlanta, and I just always just had an appreciation as it went more to that trap style of just wanting to like bring back this East Coast sound, because that was like what I grew up on. So when I went to college, I went to college for communications. And I really didn't even know what I wanted to do, honestly. I had a teacher in high school that just was like, listen, like, you like doing broadcasting for school, why don't you just go for communications and do that? And she really pushed me to do it. And so while I was in college, I was really into producing. And I used to watch, I don't know if you're familiar with A-Rap music. I used to be fascinated when he would put the videos up with him like doing like on the drum pad, the Kai MPC, and he'd make like the beats and flip the samples right then and there. And so I was like, man, I want one of those. So I was looking and trying to find a way to get one of those, but they're like $2,000, and it was ridiculous. So my brother had like the cheap version of it, so I would mess around with that. And so my first start with music was producing. And I had FL Studio, and I was making beats, but I wanted to do it like how he was doing it, and I just didn't know FL Studio well enough to do it. I didn't really go to school for. I took like a music class by accident because I didn't pick you have to pick like your what is it, elective, and I just kind of got into a music theory class, but I didn't really like, I wouldn't say that music was my passion, but I really loved creating sounds and creating like feelings off of it. So long story short, I was still watching, A-Rap's videos on YouTube. I came across like this native instrument video. Um, and it's kind of the similar thing. And I was like, all right, that's way cheaper. I can do the same thing with that. I'll get one of those. And while I was doing that, I was taking a marketing class. And for my marketing class, it was like the end of the semester. We had to do like this project where you create a business plan, and if you present it, you get an A, whatever, cool. So I did it with a group, didn't think anything of it. The teacher told me that we should really present it in front of the school, and there's like a whole competition for it. And I was like, damn, do I really want to go and like do this project all over again? Because we have to like meet with advisors and we have to revise it and everything like that. And I'm just trying to, get the A and be done with it. But I went through with it. We did it. We presented it. And lo and behold, we actually won. And I got $1,000. It was sponsored by Wells Fargo. So they gave us like a Wells Fargo gift card for $1,000. And I went and bought my first music equipment with it, which I was really excited for. And that was, thanks to marketing. Which I still hadn't really known if that was something I was really passionate about, because I always wanted to be like a sports broadcaster or something like that. So I started producing, I started selling the beats. I really kind of made a name for myself on college campus. I had teamed up with one of the artists over there, and people had known us as just like this producer, rapper duo. And I liked it, and more people were asking for beats, but I just realized that this was something that was such a hobby for me, and I just like it was like therapeutic almost, that I didn't want to force myself to keep making beats to other people because I couldn't force myself to make something that I like. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, I want something more of this sound. I want something more of this sound. I want something more like that. And I would think to myself, like, I can't do that unless I'm in like the moment and in the vibe to like make that. So as I, went along and I was working with this artist more, I was making his cover art. I was getting him shows. Instagram had just came out. So I was like, posting stuff on Instagram. We were using, um, it was almost like Canva. If you guys are familiar with Canva now, it's like a cheap version of Photoshop. So we were coming up with all these different designs and logos and everything like that. And I was branding him, and I was really shocked at the way that it was coming out. And so long story short, I realized, you know what, I had more fun doing this. I had more fun, creating a brand around an artist. I rebranded that artist. I took his name and turned it into something different, and learning about, putting the right metadata on YouTube and tagging it the right way so that people could come across it, and making him look bigger than what he was. And that's really what my passion has been ever since then. It's just taking artists and finding a way to make them look like they're way bigger than what they may be in that moment. And really get them to just, understand that what they have is a brand. So I went to school in Philly, appreciated that. But obviously music industry is in New York City. And so I thought, all right, well, I need to go to New York in order for me to work in the music industry, but it's hard to get a job, when you don't have like an internship or anything like that. And my first internship was with sports, with the 76ers. So I took that, and I love sports, and I was working with them, and I had to build a community with, because the team sucked. We had 10 wins. That was the season that the 76ers tanked right before we got Embiid and Simmons and everything like that. So in Philadelphia, I was every day calling people on the phone and just trying to build this community around the team, and trying to build this fandom, because, they were crazy about the Eagles. They were crazy about the Phillies at the time, because those were the great teams. So trying to find a way to do the same thing with the Sixers. And, I learned a lot from that experience about just engaging with an audience and finding out what it is that will really hit home with them. And also I learned a lot about just kind of like manipulating things to make it appear bigger than what it is. So like we would get these free tickets, and we would put all the fans on the side where the TV cameras are at, to make it look like people were still coming to the games, so that it would look like, we had people in the stands when we really didn't. So I had that. I moved on, from there. After I had my first job, they gave me my first entry-level job working as a community manager. I went on to do more of like brand partnerships with sports. So I worked with Bank of America afterwards, with the MLB. So we had the Orioles and we had the Phillies. And I did that for a little bit, doing like the activations. And then after that, I went on to do activations for sports marketing with Dunkin Donuts, which is really, really cool. And I started in Philadelphia, and then moved to have Philadelphia, Baltimore, and DC. So any sports teams that were there, we were building out these activations, and just kind of, we were a marketing agency. So we were taking, a basic concept of a drink and making it this, exciting experience for people to experience while they were going to a game. And as I never really lost my love for music. I was working on the side with artists. I was always trying to find a way to get back into the music industry, but I had to pay the bills, obviously. But it taught me a lot, because it taught me about, like I said, building community. It taught me about, creating these activations, and finding ways to engage with prospective customers, which is what, your listeners are, their customers. Hopefully they'll buy something from you. And so after that, I had moved to Chicago, and my job I moved to Chicago, started doing things there with marketing. Then they relocated me again, moved to Los Angeles, and I said, all right, this is perfect. I'm closer to music. I can get, I can network with people. I have my marketing background. I can just make a, quick transition, and here I am. But the job was just so demanding that I didn't have time to really network. I didn't have time to do any of that stuff. So I kind of hit this like moment where I was like, you know what, honestly, F it. Like, I don't want to be here on the West Coast. It's so different from the East Coast. I'm such an East Coast guy. I don't have time to do what I want to do. It was stressful. Like, I lost a lot of weight, and I was already skinny in the first place, and it wasn't really for me. So I told my boss, I said, hey, listen, that's it. I'm leaving, going, and that's all. And that same week, I flew back to the East Coast, and I said, let me do my networking that I always wanted to do in LA, but I'll do it in New York City. So I went to New York City, and the first event that I went to was actually with the Digilogue. And they had just started. It was a guy who was working, in brand partnerships for for Beats by Dre, and another guy who was he worked for Wix, and he was more of a technical guy. And they wanted to start this community of music and tech and find a way that music and tech can, kind of push innovation and a conversation around the future of the music industry. And so I walked in there, 30 people, myself. It was a panel. We talked to the people. I thought it was really cool. Introduced myself to them and said, hey, I've done a lot with, just creating activations, creating events, building a community. If there's anything that you need from me, please let me know. I'll help you out however I can. And if I don't know how to do it, there's Google, there's YouTube, I'll figure it out, because that's the kind of person I am, right? And so, I started to, help out, just doing small panels and conversations with them. And then eventually towards the end of the year, I was able to pitch an idea for doing the future of audio. I brought in Sennheiser, which is a very expensive German audio brand. And they brought in all these cool microphones to do AR activations, VR activations. We had a podcast that was on the side that was doing live interviews. We had panels from all these people from all the different labels in New York City. And I was just thinking to myself, wow, I was able to reach out to this guy on a cold, message on LinkedIn, invite him to one of our events, get him on a call, activate this entire idea, bring out all of these people, and most importantly, make money off of it. And so that was like a moment that really kind of changed in my head and said, this is I love doing this. I love serving the community. I saw, artists really appreciated this. This wasn't something that was really around, because in New York City, I hate to say it, there's a lot of scammers, a lot of people who want to take money from you, and they don't have validation. They don't have the network that they say they do. And we wanted to bring something that was free and just kind of inviting and inclusive and all that for everybody. And so, that was back 2017. And over the past 3 years, I've elevated, I've grown with the company. We've been able to partner with some really, really cool brands. We've been able to expand what we're doing. And, we had events in Detroit, we had events in Los Angeles, we had events in Charlotte, we had events in Atlanta. And this year we had planned to go to even more cities, but then COVID happened, which it was unfortunate, but it was a blessing in disguise. And we were able to switch to just 100% online. And we saw our followers explode. We saw our engagement explode. We were featured in Billboard. We were featured in Afrotech. We have a lot of really cool opportunities that we're presented with now. And it still feels like it's still the beginning. There's still so much. And I'm excited for 2021 to really execute on the bigger brand ideas that, we had been dreaming of from before. So hopefully that's a long-winded answer for your question.
Yeah, and it's taken me off path, because I've got a list of questions that I had, and now I ain't touching them, because you gave so much in that there's some things I can't ignore that I want to dive right into and ask you about.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things you said, and I liked it, but I find, because I approach everything from this business mindset, right? I can't help it. I'm an MBA. I'm locked into it.
Right.
And I'm dealing with creatives and artists,
right,
especially in hip hop. Now we can get into this big argument about the authenticity of hip hop,
right.
but artists truly want to stay true to themselves and be genuine in their expressions. And then you made a comment about making artists look bigger than he was. So how, and I agree, you've got to have an artist find his authentic voice and present it. But you almost have to, I think, push them a little bit to be on social media more, to stage some things a little more, to give the appearance a little more, to get that social proof, right? That's what we're looking for as marketers.
Right.
How do you balance that? How do you guide them on that?
So when we're doing what we're doing, I mean, our conversations that we have with the Digilogue, we're bringing in people from different companies that are experts in what they're talking about to teach these artists about different aspects of the music industry. So whether it's licensing, sync, legal, anything, right? What I do is I look at the audience, the community, and I pay attention to these artists, and I pay attention to the artists that are taking what we're teaching and applying it to themselves, right? And so when they're applying what we're teaching to them, I say, all right, we have this platform now where we can, share your music with our community, right? And when we share the music with the community, When I say like making them look bigger than what they are, we're not feeding them followers on IG, or we're not, you know, feeding fake likes. Not like that. I mean, we're making the branding look like they are going to perform at the VMAs, or we're making the branding look like they are going to do a feature with, you know, Complex magazine. And people are looking at that, and I mean, people from the labels are saying, "Oh wow, like is this person signed? Like they like I can't believe it's just like, you know, some, you know, everyday guy with a couple hundred followers and yada yada yada." I was like, yes, that's what we like to do. We like to take these artists, they're doing the work. They're like literally doing the work and doing what they need to do. And now we're just giving them the branding to make them appear as if they are this big artist, but now they have also the work behind it to back it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else you said a few times was you were talking about networking,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I know at least Red on the call will know that I beat this point to death. Uh, but I always like the other guests to drive the point home as well. How important is networking in this industry? Because, you know, we've got, especially, you know, I'm looking right now, and I know I've got a guy right now from outside of Detroit in here, a guy in Southwest Kansas, a guy in
Mm-hmm.
Middletown, Ohio, Southern Ohio. These guys aren't in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in LA. They're not in Atlanta. How important, though, is it to encourage these guys to be on Zoom calls like this, to go to Digilogue events when they're in Detroit, to go to Southwest by, you know, South by Southwest, to go to A3C?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's key? It's important?
It was important in the past, and I think they're in an even better situation now because everything is digital. Everything is opened up. And so honestly, like, listen, when I was younger and I knew networking was important, but it's hard because you don't want to bother people. You don't want to rub people the wrong way. You don't want people, I didn't want people to think that I was like just trying to use them for anything. So I was like, where's the fine line between networking and just taking advantage of people for whatever position they may have? And what I found is just that, hey, just, you know, appreciating the work that people do, because people appreciate that. If I say, hey, you know, I love what you did with XYZ, I would love to, you know, sit down and chat for 15 minutes, not taking too much of your time, just to ask you a couple questions about your journey. And people love to talk about themselves. So of course they're going to do that. If I know that someone is trying to do something and I have the resources to help them with it, right? I'll be like, hey, you're trying to do this? I know so and so. Let me connect you with them so that you know, you guys can work together. I'm not looking for anything out of it. I'm just trying to make a connection out of it. And if you look at it that way and you approach it that way and say, how can I help this person as much as this person can help me, then you'll build an authentic relationship. And if you're looking to really just build a relationship with that person and not looking to use that person as just a tool for your own personal gain, then you'll get a lot more out of it than saying, hey, you know, I'm an artist from so and so, this is my music, do you mind checking it out? I would go for it and say maybe like, hey, you know, I'm an artist and I love what you're doing with, let's say, you know, the Digilogue. Can you tell me more about opportunities that you guys have for artists like myself?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yeah, sure, of course. I love to talk to people like that. And now, you know, we do the Digilogue. I mean, we're based in New York City, but we do it for the people that are in Detroit and Kansas and Ohio and Indiana and, you know, Iowa and all these places, because we want them to connect with the global music community. So we have, you know, we have Instagram and we have LinkedIn, and we're building, you know, a forum, and we're just finding ways to connect with people. When we have our panels, people are connecting in the chats, and people have connections from, you know, all across the world with people that they've never actually seen face to face, and now, you know, it's, you know, they feel like family. Even when people see them, you know, each other in person, they're like, oh yeah, I know you from the Digilogue. Oh, I know you from the Digilogue. It's almost like a fraternity now. So I think, you know, just taking the time to chat with people, 15 minutes at the max, connecting with people, appreciating the work that people do, commenting on people's, you know, work as well. Hey, this is, you know, great video. Thank you for sharing this, blah, 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 whatever. And it'll go a long way.
Yeah, and I try to drive home the point, and I think you'll agree, but how much more value in the networking relationship if you got somebody, Brandon, that comes along and all of a sudden you see them sharing the L's podcast and Digilogue and saying, hey, you guys need to follow this. This has great information. They've got great, and just supporting, and not coming to you just with their hand out, especially first interaction. You know,
Right.
very first thing I say to Brandon is, hey, can you get me on that playlist you got? Not even hi, how are you, or even an Instagram
Exactly.
follow.
Exactly. You know, yeah, that will get you left on red. Anyone who does that, if you just come with, I always say I love serving the community. I love, I mean, I look at us again like we're politicians and we're doing this for the greater good of humanity or the creative community. Um, but I'm not obligated to do anything for anyone. I do it because I want to. I do it because I love to. And there's a way to approach it. But I mean, even for networking, like, let's take the L's podcast, for example. We're on Vivo now. Shout out to our good friend Mika, who works at Vivo. We built that relationship with her. We had her on a panel. We helped her out with, just seeing her different artists from our community, so on and so forth, to the point that when they were ready to put podcasts on Vivo, she reached out to us directly. You know what I mean? And a lot of these companies that we've built, we kind of go behind the scenes. We find the people who have their hands in the pot with these big brands. We build like a really good relationship with them so that when the time is right, they come to us and say, hey, you guys would be perfect for this. It's the way that we had it with companies like Samsung, with Wix, with Essential Water, with, Revolt, and I can't even think off the top of my head, but a bunch of these different companies, basically, we know the people who are behind the scenes. We know the people to talk to. We know. And if we don't know them, we do the research and authentically reach out to them, whether it's LinkedIn, at an event, so on and so forth.
Right. So you've had speaking of the L's podcast, and I told you earlier, I've been going through some episodes here recently, and you've had some really great guests on there. I'm kind of curious, as an executive producer, you've had to pick up one or two things just by osmosis with being in the room with such great guests, from Red Bull Music to Shady 45 to all these different people in the industry. So what's maybe one takeaway or two takeaways, just kind of being around that greatness that's hit you in the last year?
Man, we started the podcast this year. So the first 3 episodes, we were in the same room as these people, but now everything is virtual, which sucks. But I think the moment that really stuck out to me, and I definitely recommend this episode to everyone, was with Manny Sorrell from Red Bull Music, who was the head of music. And this guy is a digital marketing just genius, in my opinion. And he really got on the podcast and he talked about the importance of, first of all, he's from Minneapolis. All right. So, it's a big city, but not a city that's really known for its music industry, and finding a way to navigate into the music industry from that city. But also, he came up in the time when YouTube had just started, YouTube and MySpace, and companies were coming to him because they didn't know how to understand YouTube and MySpace. You know what I mean? They were really big on ringtones at the time, and trying to sell ringtones for artists. And so he was pitching these labels to do content series with their artists. And he was going on the road. He went on the road with Hurricane Chris. He had a camera and he had all these different big bulky equipment items, but he was taking the time to actually build these videos. And he knew that was going to be something that would be really big in music. Looking now, YouTube Music, right? Looking now, Instagram is really big with music, Twitter and so on and so forth. And so watching that, I said to myself, I was like, damn, that reminds me a lot of Twitch. People don't know how to use Twitch. People don't know how to really engage with Twitch. People don't know how to build content for Twitch. Artists want to do it, but they don't know how to do it the right way. And I've had my own personal conversations where I have a dedicated team for Twitch that we're building out for 2021. And I've gotten pushback like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't know how to do that. And I think that's the biggest thing about the music industry, is that it's things like that you really need to explore, because it could be the next biggest thing. And to say that, hey, I was a pioneer, I was a part of it when it started, is not just an accolade, but also you're now an expert in that area. You now can, we can go and charge, whether it's with Digilogue or myself, I can go and charge these companies and say, hey, you don't know how to work Twitch. Don't worry. I know the plan. I know the formula. We can build something out for your artists. We can do X, Y, Z and watch it grow.
Interesting. So let's talk, because I want to open the floor up to these guys. I'm sure they got their own questions, but I want to just ask a couple questions about maybe marketing and branding. I see artists hungry for digital marketing information. How do I grow my Instagram? How do I do a Facebook ad, Scott? How do I do a YouTube ad? Those type of things. But the conversation that I often try to have with them and they don't even want to have it, is about branding.
Yes.
And I've told this story multiple times, but you know, every time you sit down in a with a label meeting or some music professionals, and they ask you, you know, who do you sound like? What's your brand? Who do you identify with? That type of stuff. And there's oh, nobody. I'm an original. I don't sound like nobody. No one's ever seen this. And that is the most unoriginal thing, because that's what everybody says in that meeting. But
Right.
what it really says is you haven't thought much about your branding. You don't know who your avatar is. Whose audience could you share and take a piece of and look at? So how important is marketing to music artists, and where should they start in discovering or uncovering, because it's hard to do?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. First of all, I think to start with uncovering like what your lane is. Look at who's interacting with your music first and foremost. Like, what is it about them that they have in common? Where are they from? What's their age? What do they like? What else do they like? What other brands do they buy? Those are things to ask yourself. Um, Instagram gives you obviously tools that you can look at analytics. And I say Instagram just because that's where everyone's at right now. It's probably the most popular social media platform that everyone's using. You can see the age of your artists, of your followers. You can see the city of your followers. You can see the country of your followers. You can see when they engage the most. You can see what they engage the least. You can see what they like, and you can see what they don't like. I really like, we had a Chartmetric, which is an analytic tool as well, that came to speak to our community, and they, talked about their program, which I really like, which will go even deeper and show you where your listeners are. It will tell you artists that are very similar, or who, like, people that listen to your music, they're listening to them as well, because you can look at them and just kind of see an idea of how they're marketing and just get a better understanding of what your lane and your brand is as well. But when it comes to the actual music, the music has to be good, right? That goes without saying. And then on top of that, I've met with a lot of artists personally myself who just say, uh, you know, I do this because I love this, but I don't have the budget for this and I don't have the budget for that. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna make this cover art and I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna make this YouTube, this music video, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna make this little advertisement real quick and I'm gonna throw it out there. Make the whatever a song and I'll just, release it. And there's no plan for it. And when you're doing stuff, you have to have a plan for it. And so I think where, going back to what I said earlier, where we do this because we want everyone to learn and we don't want to monetize off of the opportunity for them to learn. We also want them to know that money that you could be paying to go into a networking event, which isn't really necessary in my opinion, you could be paying towards getting an official logo. You could be paying towards a photographer so that you can get official headshots, which kills me when artists don't have like high resolution headshots. Make sure you always have that. You can put it towards having a graphic designer work on a cover art. Because if you think about yourself, I know for myself, you can't sell me anything unless it looks good. And when I walk in Target and I'm walking and I know I want to buy essential water, but this new water, is like propped right in front of me and it's got this really cool, wrapper on it, label on it. And it's like got all this cool, lettering and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try that out because that looks really interesting. Now I'm more, likely to try that out because it's eye catching, it's popping out to me. So when you guys are doing these advertisements on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, make sure that it's popping out to people. Because, when you put it in front of someone's face just because it's music, they're not going to listen to it. Something about it has to really catch their attention. And that's always something that you need to think about as well. And that's something I always preach to people as well. Spend the money on making yourself look as professional as possible. The sound, the branding, the logo, the graphic design, all of that, it's super, super, super important. When you get in those conversations with labels and they ask you, who do you sound like? Say, you know what, based off of, my followers, they also listen to this artist, they listen to that artist, they're based in this city, they're this age, they love this brand, and they're going to be like, wow, this artist knows all of that. Impressive,
Let the data tell you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the data, I mean, it sounds a lot more, it sounds scarier than what it really is. I mean, you're just looking at the numbers and you're just getting a general understanding. You're just saying, okay, listen, hey, I make music and I feel like I make music for, TikTok and kids, but I realize that most of my fans are actually 35 years old. Well, why? Why is that? Let me talk to someone. Let me ask them. Let me see what it is about my music that they really like. And I can get a better understanding of what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to hit. Or
Yeah.
why what I'm doing is not hitting with that market as well.
And I would encourage to kind of tie into what Brandon's saying. I would encourage artists who end up watching this video afterwards or on here today, look at the last 12 or 24 months of your budget. How much you spent on making a video, buying beats, leasing beats, mix and master, studio time, new mics, all of that, versus how much money did you spend on headshots, EPK, marketing, any of that other stuff, because it's often lopsided.
I'll take it one step further, right? This is what really gets me. When an artist will tell you, and I'm not to be like kind of, it's just, it bothers me because I know that they have the budget for it. So you'll tell an artist, hey, listen, like, what's your budget for, you know, to do headshots? What's your budget to create a website, whatever? It's not really that expensive. And I say, well, you know, I'm still a struggling artist, and, you know, I can't really do this, that, and the third because, you know, my funds are limited. But all right, let me ask you a different question. How much did you spend on weed? How much did you spend on alcohol? How much did you spend on clothes? How much did you spend on jewelry? Right? Because if you're doing that because you want to make yourself appear as if you've made it already, but the branding's not there, then everyone's gonna look at it and say, this guy's, he's BSing. You know what I mean? So if you cut back, don't buy the most expensive liquor. Buy just, you know, regular that gets the job done, and put the rest of that money towards getting a website. Hey, now you're getting further. Hey, don't buy, you know, a chain. You don't need a chain right now, but if you put that towards actually, you know, putting your own logo and having, you know, a budget for marketing and stuff like that, you'll go a lot farther. People will look at your marketing, they won't look at your chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so funny because I tell this story all the time, but like, you know, maybe it's close to 2 years ago, probably now, at least a year. But I saw this one music video, and the guys, you know, they probably had rented the car, but they had a convertible Ferrari. They had actual weapons that were super expensive. They had Kevlar vest on. They had a pound of weed, and real expensive bottles, and Gucci belts, all this stuff. They obviously had some type of access to some type of funds. But the video itself, and it was a really high quality video. It had 121 views. And I'm like, you spent all the money on all that other stuff, but obviously there's zero marketing budget.
Because a lot of artists think that once they put the song out there, that people will just miraculously come to the video.
Magic.
You're competing. Let me say something. You're not competing with other artists. You're competing with viral videos. You're competing with news. You're competing with the election. You're competing with, you know, what else is on YouTube? The gamers. Like, you're competing with everything on there. There's so many videos on there that you need to find a way to get your videos up, like in front of the people that will be watching your videos, your potential fans, your fans right now. There's algorithms as well that you have to understand. So it's important that when you spend money on videos and stuff like that, just because you put it out there doesn't mean people are going to watch it. You know, you have to have a plan leading up to the release, and you have to have a plan after the release as well. And you have to keep showing it, because not everybody will watch it at the time that you post it.
Absolutely. All right, my last question, I'll open it up. When an artist consults you, comes to you, wants to work with you, or you pick them up, what's kind of the first thing? Where do you start with them as far as branding goes? Is there a certain kind of question or two you need to know up front?
I think basic. First of all, I need to know how serious you are, right? People think they're serious, but are you really serious? Do you really want to invest in yourself? Do you really want to do what you need to do in order to further your brand, your mission, whatever? I've had artists who were super talented who didn't want to go to a performance. I had, you know, artists who were super talented who didn't want to pay for the website. Artists who were super talented who didn't, you know, wake up on time for the performance. And it's like, all right, well, I can only bring you so many opportunities, but when you leave a bad taste in someone's mouth, then you're not serious about it, and I don't really want to work with you, you know, because now it's wasting my time. When we start working together and I see that they are serious about what they're doing, I have to understand, what do you think your brand is, and what is your brand actually, right? Can we kind of find like a nice fine line between the two? And then next is, how can we improve that brand? How can we get in front of people's face? How does it not look like it's pushy? Not sending people links, not posting the same clip 1,000 times, not saying, hey, what did you think about my music? You know, that kind of stuff. Just finding ways to put your personality out there and have people come to you. And then when we're working together, I really say it's almost like making friends again. You know, you don't just walk out. I don't walk into the mall and just get 1,000 friends. I have to actually know people. I have to talk to them. I have to understand them. I have to know where they're coming from, what they like, and so on and so forth. So even with the Digilogue, I'm not an artist myself, but you know, every person that comes into the community, I have to befriend them. I have to know about them. I have to know everything, you know, not everything, but a lot of things, and just kind of approach it that way.
Yeah. It's like dating.
It's exactly like dating. It's exactly like dating. You can't, I mean, you don't get married on the first date, you know? And that's the same thing with fans. Somebody might not like your music right now, but you know, after a couple times, you're like, yo, all right, this guy or this girl is really good. I actually kind of like their music. Even for me, when I hear songs from artists that I like, when the song first dropped, I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. And then after a couple times, it's like, oh, actually, I really like that. And if you have a solid campaign and you have a way for the music to keep authentically popping up on their feed, or for a way for them to listen to it, they'll come around and they'll start to listen to it, and you'll start to get bigger numbers with that.
Awesome. 100% agree. All right, guys, by show of hands, who's got some questions for Brandon? Anybody? All right, we'll start with Kennick. I saw his hand first. Go ahead and unmute yourself, man. Fire away.
What's up?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Real quick, before you ask your question, where are you based out of? So I always ask people. I want to know.
Ohio, like Southern Ohio.
Southern Ohio. Okay. Appreciate you joining the chat. What's going on?
Yeah, so like you were talking about having that balance between what you're spending money on to create and then what you're spending money on to like market.
Mm-hmm.
My question is like, what I feel like, because I'm an artist, and it's like I'll come into the situation of like what to do with the money. Like, where do you put it? Like, is it just Spotify playlist? Is it trying to get on a blog? You know, like, that's where like
don't do that. Don't do that at all. Don't pay for playlists. All right. And the reason why I say don't pay for playlists is because that's not authentic engagement. You're paying to be on a playlist, and it looks nice, but it's not really doing anything for you. That would be like if I, you know, instead of going to the gym, I just bought a muscle shirt and just wore it underneath my t-shirt. Like, I'm not actually strong. I just, you know, look like it. Same thing with blogs. When's the last time you read a blog?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so what you could do rather than spending that money is you can actually build a relationship with a playlist curator, right? So like, not to plug myself, but we had an Ohio playlist. If we had an authentic relationship and you're like, yo, I have this new song coming out, it's on Audio Mac, you send it to me, yeah, I'll get it on the Digilogue After Dark playlist, and I'll feature you on our page. You don't have to pay for that, right? Or if you want to, people don't look at blogs, people look at YouTube videos. And people look at, you know, like those interviews and stuff like that. That's what people want to see. They want to see content. They want to see like cool videos where you're like hooked up to a lie detector test and you're like answering questions and stuff like that. That'll go far. Not a write-up that you had to send to them and you pay them some money, because those guys will take the money to put anything on there, and then they go. Instead, your money can go to, do you have a website?
No, I don't.
It can go to a website. Do you have professional photos?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your professional photos. Do you have a graphic designer who can help you with cover art?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. Are you mixing and mastering?
I'm not, but I have an engineer that I work with, and we've like
Okay.
built that brand.
Okay, so you have, all right, so if you have that set, then you're good. Then you're making money with profit, right? You're profiting off of the money that you have, right? You don't have to put it towards anything else. But if you see that like Chartmetric costs $188 a month, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. If you say, all right, that's something I want to invest in because it'll teach me more about my audience, and I can now put money towards Facebook ads. Have you ever bought Facebook or Instagram ads or YouTube?
Instagram ads.
Instagram ads.
YouTube ads though.
Right. So you can say, you know what, I can put a budget towards, rather than paying for the blog post, I'm gonna put this budget towards, running an Instagram ad, and I'm gonna run it for 6 days at $30 a day, and I'm gonna target it towards, you know, people who are similar to the people that are already following me on Instagram. Like, you can actually go in and like click and hit tags that people might like, hit cities that people might be in, hit the age range that you want to hit, and then you just put a budget behind it, and it goes out and does work for you. And then you can direct them to a certain place. So if you want to direct them to your website, if you want to direct them to your music, if you want to direct them to your YouTube, whatever.
Okay. What do you say about like YouTube ads? I haven't done YouTube ads, but are they like, is that something like similar with the Instagram?
It's similar. You have to have, again, it's got to be interesting. It has to be something that's going to catch your attention. If a lot of people, I mean, I'm starting to see a lot more people put music ads before music. I mean, before like a video. The music has to be good, and it has to be something about it that will let me understand who you are, what your name is, and where I can find your music. So if I'm like, working and I have music, YouTube playing in the background, and let's say I want to go listen to, I don't know, Lil Baby, and then some artist pops up on the ad beforehand, I'm like, oh, this is kind of tough. And I look and I see like it's got his name, and I can go and search his name, and I can find the song, and now he got a new fan out of me, or a potential fan if I like more of his music. You know what I mean? If you just post the music video and you just go and you already haven't had that much engagement off of it, and it's not telling me like what your name is, how to find you, what's the name of the song. If I can't figure that out, then it's just a waste of money.
Okay.
One of the things that's tough for all you guys keep in mind when you're talking about YouTube videos, ads, don't forget anything that's got handguns, that's got drugs, that's got too much sexuality, that's got cursing. Now, we're talking predominantly to hip hop artists here today, right? What video doesn't have that? If it has that, you can't run an ad. You'll get shut down. You won't be able to do it. So creating other styles of engaging content is going to be, you got to get really out of the box in order to get people over to check out your channel, to check out your music video, because more than likely that's going to be part of your video.
I'm a huge fan myself of the visualizers. If you guys have ever seen those, like the audio visualizers, it's just kind of like a motion graphic. It could be like, I don't know, moving colors, and it'll have like your cover art on it, or it could have like a little graphic design. It could be an animation, whatever you want. Those are really cool. And just more to what Scott was saying, like we had this one girl that I know, she was working a freelance project with this artist, and she had a bikini on, right? And because she had the bikini on in the art in the song, and they were running the ad, it got rejected. And the artist was upset and was like, why is my ad not running? And she was like, listen, you can't put that on, I think it was Facebook. You can't put that on Facebook. And so she didn't want to go and reshoot it. She didn't want to make another video for it. She didn't want to pay for a visualizer. So it just kind of was a lost cause. But can't fight with the tech people, honestly. We can't. Like, it's their rules. And that's why I also preach having your own website, because that's your own platform. You don't have to worry about the rules of Instagram or Facebook or YouTube as well.
Yeah. You got to have a website. It's got to have a pixel on it, and you got to be collecting emails, without a doubt.
Exactly.
Who's next? Who's got another question? Anybody going once? All right, St. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? I think your mic is muted. There you go.
Okay, there we go. I think we were trying to at the same time. What's up?
What's going on, man? Where are you from?
Right now, I'm living in Merida, like right outside of Atlanta. I was born in Italy, Venice, Italy. Grew up in London and everything. Yeah.
Nice. The artist I was working with was from he actually was adopted by, he's in the same area, but he was adopted by an Italian family, but he grew up over in Africa. But that's pretty dope.
Yeah, my mom's West African, actually. She's from Sierra Leone.
Yeah. Actually, that's where he's from also.
Too. Like, yeah.
He's in Atlanta. You got.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, you got to link up with him, man. He grew up in an Italian family, but he's from Sierra Leone.
Yeah, there's a big
really good.
Here.
Yeah, really good.
There's a large African community here. Nigeria.
Yeah, it's dope.
Oh man, let me know about him for sure. I'll definitely network with him. That's actually something I've been doing for a while. I've been focused on networking and stuff. Really, I think my issue is like fun with a lot of things. But I have like my website. I'm working on building my website. It's really just me. I mean, I have other people that I do like graphic design for, or some photos, or videos, things like that. So I have a really now as my network more than anything, because I don't have the funds to do a lot of things. But because I have built relationships with a lot of people, it's helped me get really far. And honestly, I have a cousin in Italy already that's going up a little bit, so that's helped me make more connections. But really, what I would want to understand more is like, right now I'm trying to focus on kind of like a rollout. My uncle was
Mm-hmm.
telling me about like, oh, you need to put an album or a mixtape playlist, and I was thinking like that's not really the move. Like I should probably do it like a single and kind of build towards that, like get people to know me through my music. Well, through at least kind of test the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of did that. Like usually I promote my songs at least a little bit. Sometimes I go on Twitch. That's actually it's funny you mentioned that. That's the direction that I kind of want to go to, is build a little Twitch audience, play like video games. I want to direct myself towards gamers and also like space, because I want to talk about traveling to space, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
like kind of what we need to do as humans and stop fighting each
Right.
other. But so like I feel like that's the direction. But first I really have to knock out the kinks with my website, I'm thinking, to make sure, like you're saying, it looks all professional.
Yeah. Who are you
I'm
hosting your website through?
I'm using what is it? WordPress, Bluehost.
Oh yeah. Okay. I honestly, they're like really difficult in my opinion. I prefer there's the three that I like. For like if you're trying to just build something easy, simple, and manageable. I use Squarespace myself. Digilogue uses Wix, which is also pretty good. And then there's Bandzoogle, which is they're more geared towards musicians. And so they help you. They give you templates that you can just look at the template, see if you like it, and then just go in and change all the information to your information. You can upload photos, you can change the words, and it's super simple. And you pay like about $16 a month. It depends on the plan that you have, and it depends on what you want to do. But $16 a month will get you a decent website. And if you don't know how to like change certain things, I always tell people that I prefer to work with a smaller budget, because a smaller budget means more creativity. You know what I mean? So you have YouTube, you have a network of people that you can work with. So you can definitely still, figure something out. Google, all of
Okay.
that.
And you said that the music targeted one was Bandzoogle?
Bandzoogle. Yeah. Zoogle, like if it was Google, but just with a Z and band before it.
Okay, cool. Bandzoogle. Yeah, I think that's really kind of the questions that bubble in my head right now, because that's what I'm focused on at the moment. I'm trying to just get, because I'm actually I'm going on like Udemy to try and learn my own digital marketing, and just trying to even use that for my vocals and producing, and just I feel like you need a lot of tools as an artist. At the end of the day, you kind of have to know a little bit about everything, and honestly, as an intellectual in general, you kind of have to know a little bit about everything. So
Right.
yeah, I'm just trying to round myself out for the most part.
Definitely. I'll tell you what, for anybody, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Brandon Nales. Just send me a DM. And if you want to help, like if you need help with Twitch or anything like that, I can help you come up with some strategies.
Okay.
I spend probably 60% of my week working on Twitch stuff, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I really feel like that is the future. Like kids are all over it. I mean, you know how memes are these days. Memes are
Yeah.
huge. Like
Yeah. I'm
that's
telling you,
huge.
between music and my little cousins, they keep me young, because I can have these conversations now with them, and I understand, TikTok and Twitch and all that stuff. And at first it didn't really make sense to me, but now I get it.
Yeah, I realize
Yeah.
it too. It's like kids of the future. They pick up on things so quickly. They have the time to look for all this stuff and know what's like
Yeah.
popping for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even as a kid, I used to be like, I would think like, how come my parents not know how to work a phone? Like you press the button, you send a text, it's easy. But then now looking at the technology that kids have, it's like, I don't know how to do it. It's overwhelming, but
Yeah.
once you get it, it's easy. It's not that bad.
Yeah. You just got to be able to keep up with the trends.
I know. I'm just trying not to feel old. That's the most important thing. I don't want to feel like I'm doing something the wrong way. I'm holding the cell phone backwards like our parents used to do back in the day. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy.
Facts. I feel that so much. I feel that. Yeah, like you said, as long as we're paying attention to them, that's how it'll work, I think. So I
Yeah, for
definitely,
sure.
I'm gonna send you that DM real quick. I don't want
Yeah,
to be
for sure.
other people's time too much. So that's really for me.
All right, man.
Careful,
Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah, definitely
you.
send it. I'll be on the
careful
lookout
what
for
you
it.
guys say about old heads.
Nah, listen, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, but I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it one TikTok and Twitch at a time.
Right. I'm 28. I feel you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who else? Who's got a question? All right, ER.
Hey, how's it going, Brandon?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Pleasure to meet you, man. I'm from Metro Detroit area. I live right in Brighton, Michigan. I just wanted to ask, like most of us in here, I feel like I'm aging out, right? I'm 27. Next year I'm gonna be 28. I want to build a brand, obviously, that's serious, but at the same time, you know, when you start getting older, you're like, man, I'm about ready to try everything. So can I throw on a banana suit and rap in a song and it not hurt me later, right? Because I don't want to kind of be doing all this crazy stuff and then it tank my brand later down the road. Like, it may pop, obviously, instantly, but I'm worried that later people are like, oh, man, no, don't rock with that dude. He wore the banana suit.
Right. I'll tell you this. Be yourself. Just do whatever you want to do, because you're going to draw authentic people who like you for you. And you're going to get people who don't like what you do, and that's okay, right? I get people who don't like what I do. I never try to think about what will people like. I try to think of what like resonates with what I want to do. What's my mission? What do I want to achieve? And I do that. And if somebody doesn't like it, they don't like it. That's on them, honestly.
But
so if you want to wear a banana suit, wear a banana suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you. If you're the guy that with the song with the banana suit, you're the guy with the song with the banana suit, and that's that. You know what I mean? But don't put the banana suit on because you think that will get more attention for you. Like, if you're not that guy, don't be that
guy. That's where I'm getting at, because obviously, you know, like Scott said, you know, I was so used to, you know, getting fly models in my video and just let them kind of bring all the attention. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I guess my question is, what other ways can we make videos that grab attention that don't require Ferraris or guns or you know, porn?
Listen, I'll tell you what. I'm kind of tired of watching those kind of videos, to be honest with you. The other night, I love YouTube, and I always vouch for YouTube, not because we have the partnership with Vivo or anything like that. It's just because I like watching music videos and the music visualizers on YouTube. I watched this artist. I'm on Vivo. I'm looking through, like, you know, the new music videos that came out, and the music video that stuck out with me was that this song, they actually directed it like a film. You know what I mean? Like, it was a story with it. The music was in the background. Obviously, they're not talking, but you're like watching along. You're like, what's going on with it? But first thing I thought was, who directed this? Right? Because this is great. Like, having a great director, you know, and there's people out there, just like you have digital marketers, you have people out there who are creative directors. And they have really great ideas that they can bring to life. And so if you have a song that you feel like you can kind of have a deeper meaning behind it, and you want to play that deeper meaning out, and it's got really cool, like, just like scenes and cinematography, and you really treat it like it's a video, that will hit a lot harder than if I watch somebody who's with their friends in the park and jumping up and down with the car in the background and the girls and the guns and all that stuff. Like, that doesn't resonate with me because I've seen it so many times. You know what I mean? If I see something that's like, wow, this is really, really cool. I'll give you like even a better example. When I was, you know, back in the days when I was producing, I wanted to put a beat tape out, but I was thinking, how can I put this beat tape out, but it'll actually resonate with people? And so I thought, like, what if I could build like a theater where people would come in, right? I'm going to put like speakers in, like the bass will be on the floor, the hi-hats will be along the wall with like these lights changing colors. It would be like a film that's like silent, with the beat in the background playing, and you're in this kind of like audio box and you can hear the music like all around you. And it can put you just kind of in this like zone, in this feeling. I want you to feel like what I felt when I was making this beat. And at that time I was like, everybody's like, oh, nobody's doing that. That's different. That's weird, whatever. But it was what I wanted to do. And now you see it a lot with people just experimenting with different ways to release music videos. You look at when Beyonce put, you know, that audio, the visual album on Disney Plus. You look at, you know, there's some artists, if you look, I forgot what his name was, he released like these visual performances on Netflix. Like, there's different ways to do all these different cool things. You don't have to do YouTube and Netflix. You can do Twitch. You can get a creative director and make like this really cool shot in your own hometown and show Detroit and get like that fist on the thing, like, you know, punching towards the river and all that different things. Just make it fun and creative, honestly.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm gonna be respectful of Brandon's time. If we've got one more, we've got time for one more question. If somebody's got one, all right, I'll go two more because I'm a nice guy. Red, we'll go with you first.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I'm on this new technology here, phone here.
We were just making fun of you, man.
I have a question here. First of all, what is your I got your Instagram, but your website information?
Everything is Brandon Nales. So BrandonNales.com.
Okay, all right. Next thing, we have a website, but I hear too many times that websites are useless these days. But I hear you asking for websites, or do you have a website? So how do you actually balance that, or what is the actual thought out there for having websites? And
so, all right. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You got it.
And I guess the other is just how Big Red Entertainment is kind of positioning ourselves as far as we have had some, some luck in getting sponsors and getting on like movies and getting into television and stuff like that. I'm trying to position ourselves to be even more, or to work with more companies like you, to do that. So that's why I wanted the website and everything you got, so that I can make sure that I take a look and see what all that you offer and more. So okay.
Yeah, definitely. So first about the website. If you have, and we've seen this a bunch of times, you got 1 million followers on Instagram and then Instagram bans you, then what happens? Then you got to start over, right? Maybe you make a new Instagram, they catch you, you get banned again. Twitter bans you, right? You get suspended. YouTube bans you, whatever. Your website, you own that. That's the first thing, right? So the same way that, we were all on owning land, buying property, this is digital real estate that you want to own. So that's important. I love my website because my website lets me know every single person from all over the world who comes to my website. I can see that. I can see so much more information and data about who's visiting my website, what pages they're going to, what they're clicking on, what they're engaging with, what they're not engaging with. And it just lets me know a little bit more about how engaged my following is, right? And again, I'm not an artist. So for an artist, it's even more useful. You're selling merchandise. You can sell merchandise on Instagram because they have that now. But again, you get banned on Instagram, what do? You got a website, even better. You want to sell tickets to a concert, have it on your website. You want to put videos, have it on your website. I've even seen a lot of people doing subscription models, which is really, really cool, where let's say you want to have like almost like a Patreon. You guys are familiar with Patreon, I assume, right? You can build out a Patreon on your website, and it's yours. Like, that's yours. It's not Patreon's. They don't dip into the money. You share, of course you pay for the website, you pay for the service, stuff like that, but they're going there and they're engaging with you. So you can do whatever you really want with it. Of course, no one's going to your website to listen to your music, although they may go to your website to find your Instagram or go find your Spotify or your Apple Music or whatever. But you can really just kind of design it however you want. It's your storefront. So if you want to, put really entertaining videos on there and also put it on YouTube, do that. If you want to put your podcast on there, do that. If you want to put a link to your music, you can do that. You want to put your own photos and just kind of curate a feed, you can do that. Whatever you want to do. And then as far as just working with more brands and stuff like that, again, it's just knowing who's the right person to contact, finding a person to contact, and finding a way if they can connect you with the right person to get to push the idea that you want to push, and building that authentic relationship. So I can't just, right now, we've done stuff with a lot of really great brands, but I can't just go up to Tesla and say, hey, come and work with me. I got to find somebody that works at Tesla. I got to show them that my audience is an audience that they would want to tap in with, and then build that authentic relationship and see how we can help each other out. And if they tell me no, then I look for the Tesla competitor.
I like that. Slick. All right, Darius. Get the last one in here, man. Go ahead.
Hey, how y'all doing, man?
What's going on, man?
So I know you spoke earlier about like brand partnerships and stuff like that. How would you go about reaching out to these different bigger brands and trying to partner with them as like an independent artist?
Definitely. I mean, the same way that I connect with everyone else. This is a secret. Don't tell anybody. It's between all of us here and whoever's watching the video. LinkedIn is my best friend. I've met every single person that we've ever connected with that I haven't met personally on LinkedIn. So I reach out to them. I do a little bit of research of them. You know, I understand like what projects have they worked on, how do they contribute to the community, to the company, what idea do I have in mind for what I could do with them. When I reach out, I say, hey, how you doing? My name is Brandon. I'm the head of content for the Digilogue. I love what you're doing with this company. Specifically, I love what you're doing with this project, and that project. Do you have 15 minutes to connect between this and the next week? Because I would love to hear more about what you're doing and see if there's a way that we can kind of align our mission.
Got you. Okay.
And that's it. And again, people are gonna say no. Yeah, people won't answer. People will say no. I've gotten a million no's. I've got a million answers, emails that were never answered. But people say yes too. And the people that say yes, I'm always shocked by, honestly.
Oh yeah, I understand that. So basically, once you find out like the brand of the artist and the audience you're targeting, then that's the type of brands like you'll go for and stuff like that you want to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it more from like I'm looking at more from like, you know, the Digilogue, and we're a company and like partnering on company to company basis. But for artists, I always say, obviously don't try to swing out the park first. Validate yourself and say, you know, hey, you know, I've worked with, I don't know, maybe there's a local clothing brand that you work with to start. Maybe there's a local coffee shop that you're able to do like a show at. Maybe there's a local nightclub that you're able to partner with. You know, start like there. And then from there, elevate. Who's above that you can now use what you've done before to validate what you can do with them and prove like, hey, this worked with them, it could work with you too. And then when you go from there, then you elevate again, you elevate again, and you elevate again. I mean, the companies that we were working with at first were smaller brands like ourselves, and we use that to validate. And sometimes we weren't even getting money from them. We were just getting like free merchandise. We were getting a free event space. Essentially gave us at first just free water. Like that's what we would take, what we would show them as a sponsor, and then other companies would be like, all right, well, if they invested in them, I trust that I can invest in them too.
Yeah, I think you're hitting something really good there, Brandon. You know, well, first of all, LinkedIn, I 100% agree. LinkedIn is super powerful and underutilized in the industry, but you got to know how to approach LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Reddit are probably two of the hardest platforms to navigate, because if you don't come in the right way, you really look bad on those platforms if you're not a professional and show up. But I like that you said starting small too. So a lot of times, you know, you as a new artist, you've only got 300 followers on Instagram and 15 on YouTube, but you're trying to go after Red Bull as a sponsor. You need to do your research, and you know, if your CPM rates are $40 for 1,000 views or something at the time, then you're getting 1,000 views per video, then you've got about $40 of value to add to someone. So that's when you reach out to the local clothing brand and you say, hey, for a $40 hoodie, I'll wear it in the video. You provide the hoodie to me, I wear it in the video. We're averaging about 1,200 views of video. And as you grow and you build that resume, you're able to ask for more and request more. Kind of reverse engineer it a little bit.
And I'll take it even a step further. I mean, you can even talk to that company and how can you guys work together to build something really cool, right? So let's say that clothing company, maybe they want to sponsor, I don't know, a video series. Maybe they want to, rather than giving you a hoodie, maybe they want to give you like an overlay that you can put over your Twitch, or maybe there's like a giveaway that you can do so that you can give away like a hoodie for on their behalf, so like your fan base or something like that. Like you can really build out like a cool activation, because now you're a marketer. It's the same thing that brand marketers do when they set up activations at Six Flags or at, you know, a convention or something like that. You can do the same thing with these brands.
Absolutely. It's great stuff, man. I appreciate you, Brandon, coming on here today. I appreciate all of you guys for showing up. I hope that it was worth your time. I hope you learned something. I know I did, and got inspired. I highly encourage you to check out Brandon's website. Go follow him on LinkedIn. Go to get involved with Digilogue, and definitely check out the L's podcast. If you got nothing going on this afternoon, I might turn that on in the background. Any other place you want to mention, Brandon? Or
I wanted to give one more just thing that I always like to pitch. I always like to say, if you guys are reaching out, invest in Grammarly, right? I think the biggest thing that really kills these reach outs is typos and just like grammatical errors and stuff like that. So I pay $60 for 3 months of Grammarly, and it will actually go and it will correct it, help you rewrite your sentences and stuff like that, because I grew up, bilingual in the inner city, and my English ain't the best. But, when you're reaching out to these people, you don't want to make those errors. So if you can definitely make that investment, I would definitely tell you to do so.
But if you're only sending "let's work" or fire emojis, you don't need to spend that money.
Yeah, first of all, don't send emojis in the email, in my opinion. I hate that. Don't put "let's work." Stay away from slang. I mean, just kind of come from, and that's why I like Grammarly also. I don't work for them. I'm not pitching for them, but I like it because you can set the tone that you want it to be like friendly or confident, analytical, and expert, knowledgeable, formal, like those types of things. And you can come across the right way, because if you come across professional in the right way, you'll get a lot more open in emails and a lot more responses.
Yeah.
The emojis are cool, but it's kind of like, seriously, dude, like, you know what I mean?
Yep. Amen. Agreed. All right, guys. Again, appreciate it, Brandon. Appreciate everybody for showing up. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. All you guys got my email, my social media, and Brandon's made that open invitation as well. So appreciate your time. Enjoy your Sunday, guys.